Welcome to World Numismatic Finds, where today we explore the top 5 rare coins that continue to fascinate collectors across Britain and beyond. In this feature, we turn our attention to the iconic UK 5 pence pieces from the late 1960s and 1970s, a transformative era in British coinage following decimalisation under Queen Elizabeth II. From the 1968 issue in fine condition to the 1971 example still shining brightly, the 1969 coin with its faded charm, the well-worn 1975 dilapidated survivor, and the solid 1970 piece in good condition, each coin tells a unique story of circulation, history, and hidden value. Let's uncover what makes these particular 5 pence coins so intriguing in today's numismatic world. Let's get started up with the 1968 UK 5 pence coin in fine condition. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary small silver-colored coin tucked away in an old drawer or coin jar, but for collectors and enthusiasts of British currency, this particular year carries real historical weight and growing interest. If you've ever wondered whether your 1968 5 pence could be worth far more than its face value, you're in the right place. The 1968 5 pence was introduced during a period of major change in British coinage. Britain was preparing for decimalisation, which officially took place in 1971, and this coin was part of that transition. Although dated 1968, it was designed to be equal in value and size to the old 1 shilling coin. In fact, it circulated alongside the shilling for several years. The obverse features the portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin, showing the young queen wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. On the reverse, you'll find the crowned thistle design, a proud symbol of Scotland, along with the denomination New Pence, as it was originally inscribed before the wording changed simply to 5 pence in later years. Culturally and historically, the 1968 5 pence represents more than just small change. It marks the beginning of modern British decimal currency and symbolizes a turning point in economic history. For many people across the United Kingdom, this coin brings back memories of a changing era, when prices were being converted and the country was adapting to a new monetary system. That sense of nostalgia significantly boosts its collectible appeal today. Collectors are not only buying metal, they are buying a piece of Britain's transformation. In terms of physical details, the 1968 5 pence coin weighs 5.65 grams and is composed of cupronickel, a durable alloy that gives it its distinctive silver tone. The diameter is 23.59 millimeters, identical to the old shilling, which is why the two coins could circulate together. Its milled edge adds a touch of refinement and helps protect the coin from wear and clipping. Even in fine condition, where moderate circulation marks and light wear are visible, the main features of the design remain clear and attractive. Now let's talk about rarity and demand. While the 1968 issue had a substantial mintage, coins in genuine fine to extremely fine condition are becoming more sought after as time passes. Many examples were heavily circulated, damaged, or lost, meaning well-preserved pieces are increasingly desirable. Collectors especially value coins that show strong detail in the Queen's portrait and a sharp, well-defined thistle on the reverse. As the years go by, surviving examples in respectable condition naturally become scarcer in the open market. When it comes to current market value, a standard 1968 5 pence coin in fine condition typically sells for modest amounts, often between $1 and $5 depending on demand and presentation. However, certain high-grade examples or coins with exceptional eye appeal have been marketed for far higher figures. You may see online listings claiming values of $1,000, $2,500, or even $5,000, sometimes written as $1,000, $2,500 or $5,000, particularly when sellers emphasize rarity or special characteristics. While such high figures should always be approached with caution, the strong marketing around these coins highlights the growing interest in early decimal issues. In rare cases involving proof versions or error coins, prices can indeed climb significantly higher than ordinary circulation pieces. For collectors hoping to add the 1968 5 pence to their collection, careful inspection is key. Look closely at the condition of the Queen's hair detail, the clarity of the lettering, and the sharpness of the crown above the thistle. Avoid coins that have been harshly cleaned, as this can reduce value considerably. Storing the coin in a protective holder and keeping it away from moisture will help maintain its condition and long-term appeal. If you believe you have an exceptionally well-preserved example, seeking a professional grading service can provide authentication and potentially increase its market confidence. In today's collector market, early decimal coins are steadily gaining attention, especially among younger collectors rediscovering Britain's currency history. The 1968 5 pence stands as one of the very first steps into the decimal era, and that alone gives it lasting significance. Even in fine condition, it carries both historical charm and investment potential, particularly as demand for nostalgic British coinage continues to grow worldwide. To conclude, the 1968 UK 5 pence coin is far more than a small piece of cupronickel. It is a symbol of change, heritage, and national identity. Whether valued at just a few dollars or advertised for thousands, its real worth lies in its story and the role it played in shaping modern British currency. If you have one in your collection, treasure it, protect it, and remember that sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest history. At number 2, the 1971 UK 5 pence coin in shiny condition. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary coin sitting quietly in a collection or tucked away in an old drawer, but for collectors and enthusiasts across the United Kingdom and beyond, this small cupronickel treasure represents the beginning of a new monetary era. If you've ever wondered whether that bright 1971 5p coin in your possession could be worth far more than its face value, you're in the right place. The year 1971 was a landmark moment in British history. It marked the introduction of decimal currency under the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. On February 15, 1971, known as Decimal Day, the United Kingdom transitioned from the centuries-old pounds, shillings, and pence system to a simplified decimal structure. The 5 pence coin was introduced as part of this new system, effectively replacing the old 1 shilling coin in value. Interestingly, the early 5p coins, including those from 1971, were the same size and weight as the pre-decimal shilling, making them instantly familiar to the public during this period of change. The 1971 5 pence coin features the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, designed by Arnold Machin. Her youthful profile, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, reflects the classic artistry of British coinage during that era. On the reverse, the coin displays the crowned thistle design, a symbol deeply rooted in Scottish heritage and national pride. The thistle, encircled by the inscription New Pence on early issues, represents unity and tradition within the United Kingdom. This combination of royal portraiture and national symbolism gives the coin strong cultural and historical value that extends far beyond its modest denomination. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1971 5 pence coin was struck in cupronickel, a durable alloy composed of copper and nickel. It weighs 5.65 grams and measures 23.59 millimeters in diameter, with a milled edge that adds both security and texture. In shiny, uncirculated condition, the coin displays a bright silver tone with crisp details on the Queen's hair, the tiara, and the fine lines of the thistle leaves. When preserved carefully over decades, its luster can remain surprisingly vivid, making it especially attractive to collectors who seek high-grade examples. Now let's talk about rarity and condition, which are the true drivers of value in today's market. The 1971 5 pence coin had a very high mintage, as it was produced in large quantities to support the launch of decimal currency. Because of this, circulated examples are extremely common and typically worth only face value. However, coins preserved in shiny, uncirculated condition or those struck as part of special mint sets can command significantly higher prices. Condition is everything. A coin with no scratches, no dulling, and full mint luster stands in a completely different category from one that has passed through countless hands. When it comes to current market value in dollars, a standard circulated 1971 5 pence coin might only fetch around 10 cents to $1 depending on demand. However, a brilliant uncirculated example in top condition could sell for between $10 and $25. If the coin has been professionally graded and achieves a very high mint state grade, prices can climb even further. Some sellers in enthusiastic markets list pristine examples for eye-catching figures such as $1,000, $2,500, or even $5,000, which in numbers is $1,000, $2,500, or $5,000. While these higher figures often reflect speculative listings rather than confirmed sales, they demonstrate the strong interest and perceived potential surrounding early decimal coinage in exceptional condition. The excitement in the collectors' community continues to fuel demand, particularly for coins that symbolize the first year of a new currency system. Culturally, the 1971 5 pence coin stands as a tangible reminder of a transformative moment in British economic history. Decimalization was not merely a financial adjustment. It was a nationwide shift that required education, adaptation, and trust from the public. Owning a coin from that inaugural year is like holding a small piece of that transition in your hand. For many people, it brings back memories of learning the new money system and adjusting from shillings to pence. This emotional and historical connection adds intangible value that collectors deeply appreciate. For collectors considering adding a 1971 5-pence coin to their holdings, there are a few important considerations. Always examine the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for full detail in the Queen's portrait and sharp definition in the thistle design. Avoid coins that have been cleaned, as polishing can reduce value significantly even if the surface appears shiny. If you believe your coin is in exceptional condition, professional grading may help confirm its quality and potentially increase buyer confidence. Storing the coin in a protective holder or capsule will preserve its luster and prevent future damage. In today's growing numismatic market, early decimal coins are enjoying renewed interest, especially among younger collectors exploring the origins of Britain's modern currency. The 1971 5-pence coin, particularly in shiny condition, benefits from this rising demand. While not rare in terms of mintage, top-grade examples are becoming harder to find as time passes and pristine coins disappear into private collections. In conclusion, the 1971 UK 5-pence coin is far more than a simple piece of change. It represents the dawn of decimal Britain, carries the distinguished portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, and showcases national symbolism through the crowned thistle design. In shiny condition, it holds strong appeal for collectors who value both history and preservation. Whether its market value stands at a modest few dollars or reaches into ambitious listings of thousands, its true worth lies in its connection to a pivotal moment in British history. If you have one tucked away in brilliant condition, you may be holding not just a coin, but a bright, enduring symbol of change and continuity in the United Kingdom. At number 3, the 1969 UK 5-pence coin, a coin that may look small and ordinary at first glance, especially in a faded condition, yet carries remarkable historical weight and surprising collector interest. Many people overlook this coin because it still resembles modern currency, but when you begin to understand its background and the powerful era it represents, you realize it is far more than just 5 pence. Even a worn and faded example can spark serious curiosity among collectors. The year 1969 was a turning point in British coinage. Britain was preparing for decimalisation, which would officially arrive in 1971. The 1969 5 pence was part of that early decimal series introduced ahead of Decimal Day. At the time, it was equivalent in size and value to the old 1 shilling coin. This transitional moment in monetary history makes the coin culturally significant. It represents the bridge between the old pounds, shillings, and pence system and the modern decimal currency we use today. The obverse of the 1969 5 pence features the portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin, a portrait that became one of the most recognizable coin designs in British history. The reverse displays the crowned thistle design, symbolizing Scotland and the unity of the United Kingdom. Although millions were minted, the historical importance of 1969 as an early decimal year gives this coin added appeal. It was struck in cupronickel, giving it a silver-like appearance when fresh from the mint. Over time, however, many coins have faded due to circulation, handling, and environmental exposure. A faded condition does not necessarily mean worthless. In fact, some collectors specifically look for original circulated examples because they show authentic history. The weight of the 1969 5 pence coin is approximately 5.65 grams, and it measures around 23.6 millimeters in diameter, identical to the old shilling. That familiar size is part of what made the transition to decimal currency smoother for the public. In terms of key facts, this coin was produced by the Royal Mint as part of the first decimal series. It features a milled edge and a strong relief design that, even when faded, retains its distinctive crowned thistle motif. Because it was introduced 2 years before Decimal Day, it stands as one of the earliest modern decimal coins in British circulation. Collectors often value it as a symbolic, first-of-its-kind piece. Now let us talk about rarity and condition. In general, the 1969 5 pence is not considered extremely rare due to high mintage figures. However, coins in exceptional uncirculated condition can command higher premiums. A faded condition coin, particularly one that has been heavily circulated, typically holds modest value. In today's collector market, a standard circulated 1969 5 pence in faded condition might sell for around $1 to $5, depending on overall eye appeal. That translates to approximately $1 to $5. Coins in better preserved condition can range between $10 and $25. Now, you may come across dramatic claims online suggesting that this coin is worth thousands of dollars, with figures like $2,000 or even $5,000 being mentioned. Realistically, such high values would only apply if there were an extraordinary mint error, a rare proof striking, or a unique anomaly. A normal faded example does not reach those levels, but that does not diminish its historic value or collector charm. The cultural and historical value of the 1969 5-pence coin lies in its connection to Britain's monetary transformation. It symbolizes adaptation and modernization. For many families, these coins were among the first decimal pieces handled by parents and grandparents during a time of national change. That emotional and nostalgic connection often fuels collector demand. Even though the coin itself may not be rare in faded condition, the story behind it increases its desirability. For collectors, patience and knowledge are key. Always examine the portrait clarity, the detail of the thistle crown, and the condition of the milled edge. Avoid harsh cleaning, as this can reduce collector appeal. Store coins in dry conditions, ideally in protective holders. Look out for unusual die errors, off-center strikes or misprints, as these can significantly increase value beyond the standard range. Even small variations can attract attention from serious numismatists. In a positive and realistic sense, the 1969 UK 5-pence coin remains in steady demand among those building complete decimal sets. While a faded circulated example may not make you instantly wealthy, it remains a meaningful and historically important coin. Its value today may be modest in dollars, but its significance in Britain's coinage evolution is priceless. Sometimes the real treasure is not in thousands of dollars, but in owning a genuine piece of history that marked the beginning of a new era in British currency. At number 4, the 1975 UK 5-pence coin. At first glance, especially in a dilapidated or heavily worn condition, it may seem like an ordinary pocket change coin. However, as many collectors are discovering, even well-circulated examples from the 1970s are gaining renewed attention in the numismatic world. The 1975 5-pence represents a distinctive era in British currency, and for some enthusiasts, it carries a nostalgic and cultural value that far outweighs its small face value. The 1975 5-pence coin was issued during the reign of Her Majesty Elizabeth II, a period that saw the United Kingdom firmly established in the decimal currency system introduced in 1971. The coin features the elegant portrait of the Queen on the obverse, designed by Arnold Machin. This particular portrait, often referred to as the Machin portrait, is widely admired for its refined and youthful depiction of the monarch. On the reverse, the crowned thistle design represents Scotland, symbolizing unity within the United Kingdom and highlighting the rich heritage embedded in British coinage. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1975 5-pence coin was struck in cupronickel, giving it a silvery appearance. It weighs approximately 5.65 grams and originally measured 23.59 millimeters in diameter, as it was the larger pre-1990 version equivalent in size to the old 1 shilling. This substantial feel makes it quite different from the smaller modern 5-pence coins we see today. Even in a dilapidated condition, where the details may be faded and the surface scratched or dulled, the coin retains its solid presence and historic charm. From a cultural and historical perspective, 1975 was a significant time in Britain. The country was adjusting to economic challenges, inflation pressures, and industrial change. Coins like this one passed through countless hands in shops, markets, buses, and post offices. A worn 1975 5-pence coin tells a story of everyday British life in the mid-1970s. For collectors, that sense of lived history adds depth and meaning. Each scratch and mark can be seen as evidence of circulation and decades of service. Now, when it comes to rarity, the 1975 5-pence coin was not considered rare at the time of issue. Millions were minted for general circulation. However, demand can rise unexpectedly depending on collector interest, specific die varieties, or coins found in unusual conditions. Even in dilapidated condition, some buyers are willing to pay more than face value for coins from the early decimal era, particularly if they are assembling complete date sets or focusing on pre-1990 larger 5-pence coins. In today's collector's market, a heavily circulated 1975 5-pence coin typically holds modest value. Realistically, such a coin in worn condition might sell for around 20 cents to $1 USD depending on demand. However, online listings sometimes present eye-catching claims suggesting values of thousands of dollars, such as $2,000 or even $5,000 US. These inflated figures, written numerically as $2,000 or $5,000, often attract attention but do not usually reflect actual completed sales. While it is exciting to imagine discovering a small fortune in your change jar, it is important for collectors to approach such claims with care and research verified transactions before forming expectations. That said, certain exceptional circumstances can increase value. If a 1975 5-pence coin were discovered with a rare minting error, such as a striking flaw, double die, or off-center design, its worth could rise significantly. Likewise, if an example were found in brilliant uncirculated condition with strong luster and no wear, it could command a higher premium among collectors seeking pristine pieces from the early decimal period. Even so, values reaching into the thousands of dollars would be extremely unusual without a genuinely rare feature. For collectors interested in this coin, patience and knowledge are key. Carefully examine the portrait details, the clarity of the lettering, and the condition of the reverse thistle design. Even a dilapidated coin can serve as a meaningful placeholder in a collection while you search for a higher-grade example. Storing coins properly in protective holders can prevent further deterioration and preserve what remains of their historical character. It is also wise to compare prices across reputable coin dealers and auction results rather than relying solely on dramatic online headlines. Ultimately, the 1975 UK 5-pence coin reminds us that value is not measured only in monetary terms. While its current realistic market value in dollars may be small, its connection to Britain's decimal transition and the long reign of Queen Elizabeth II gives it lasting importance. A worn example may not make you instantly wealthy, but it can certainly enrich your collection and deepen your appreciation for British numismatic heritage. For passionate collectors and history enthusiasts alike, even a humble dilapidated 5-pence coin from 1975 can hold a special place, symbolizing an era, a monarch, and a nation's evolving story. At last, the 1970 UK 5-pence coin in good condition. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary coin that once passed through countless hands, pockets, and tills across Britain. However, when you explore its background, its design, and its connection to a major turning point in the nation's currency system, you begin to realize that this small coin carries remarkable historical weight and growing collector interest. The year 1970 was a significant moment for the United Kingdom. It was the eve of Decimal Day, which officially arrived in 1971 and transformed the country's centuries-old monetary system. Under the reign of Elizabeth II, Britain was preparing to move away from pounds, shillings, and pence into a simplified decimal structure. The 1975 pence coin was issued as part of that transition, and interestingly, it was equivalent in size and value to the old 1-shilling coin. In fact, early 5-pence pieces were struck in cupronickel and shared the same specifications as the shilling, symbolizing the bridge between the old and the new. The design of the 1975 pence coin reflects both tradition and modernization. On the obverse, you will find the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by Arnold Machin, a sculptor whose work defined British coinage for decades. This effigy presents the young queen wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a design that became iconic throughout the early decimal era. On the reverse, the crown thistle takes center stage, representing Scotland and reinforcing the unity of the United Kingdom. The inscription New Pence appears, marking its place in the newly forming decimal system and distinguishing it from the pre-decimal coinage that had dominated British life for generations. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1975 pence coin has a weight of 5.65 grams and a diameter of 23.59 millimeters. It is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it durability and a distinctive silver tone. The milled edge adds both aesthetic appeal and practical anti-counterfeiting measures. When found in good condition, the coin still retains much of its original detail, with clear lettering, visible crown elements, and defined features in the Queen's portrait. A well-preserved example from 1970 stands out because many coins from this era saw heavy circulation during the transition to decimal currency. Culturally, the 1975 pence coin represents far more than its face value. It symbolizes a country adapting to modern economic systems while honoring its historic roots. For older generations, it recalls the confusion and excitement surrounding Decimal Day. For collectors today, it represents the final chapter before the full implementation of decimalization. Coins from transitional years often carry a nostalgic premium, especially when preserved in above-average condition. When discussing rarity, it is important to understand that the 1975 pence was minted in large numbers for circulation. However, High-grade examples in good to extremely fine condition are increasingly sought after. Coins that avoided excessive wear, corrosion, or scratches are becoming harder to find over time. Additionally, certain minting variations and exceptionally preserved pieces can command strong interest in the collector market. While it is not classified as an ultra-rare coin in general circulation grades, demand continues to rise due to its historical importance and the steady growth of the British numismatic community. Now, turning to the current market value in dollars, a standard 1975 pence coin in good circulated condition typically trades for a modest collector premium, often ranging from around $2 to $5 depending on eye appeal and market demand. In very fine or uncirculated condition, values may climb to approximately $10 to $25. However, speculative listings and exaggerated online claims sometimes advertise exceptional examples for thousands of dollars. You may occasionally see figures such as $2,000 or even $5,000 mentioned in dramatic headlines. While such prices are not typical for ordinary circulated coins, pristine, graded specimens with unique characteristics or historical presentation sets could potentially achieve significantly higher sums at specialist auctions. It is always wise to distinguish between realistic market values and promotional claims designed to capture attention. For collectors, the 1975 pence coin offers an accessible yet meaningful addition to any British decimal collection. When searching for a quality example, pay close attention to the sharpness of the Queen's hair detail, the clarity of the crown and thistle, and the absence of heavy scratches or discoloration. Storing the coin in a protective holder and avoiding unnecessary handling will help preserve its condition and long-term value. As interest in pre-decimal and early decimal coins continues to expand, transitional issues like the 1975 pence are gaining recognition as important historical artifacts. In a positive and forward-looking sense, this coin represents opportunity. It connects collectors to a defining moment in British financial history while remaining affordable and widely appreciated. Its story is one of change, resilience, and national identity. Whether you are a seasoned numismatist or someone just beginning to explore British coin collecting, the 1970 UK 5 pence coin in good condition is a piece worth celebrating. Over time, as surviving high-quality examples become scarcer, its demand may continue to strengthen, making it not only a charming relic of the past but also a promising collectible for the future.